Welcome to Vanadium. I'm back. It is April 24th, Friday, after the end of the workday. Oh man, I feel so much better. The past few days of the podcast, I realize, have been very kind of dour toned. I hope my glasses don't appear too foggy. That's annoying. But anyway, today I'm going to be doing a reading. So it's going to be Vanadium Literary Hour. I'm actually not sure quite how long it's going to take. I should know, considering I wrote the book. But I figure I'll do a free little first chapter reading. If people like it, I can read more. The Kindle is also available on Amazon. I keep them super cheap. And you can find websites that, that you can download it illegally too. I'm not really chasing people down. But before that, pardon me, not COVID. Got to show off some swag from the parent company, Conspiracy Brothers. And notice my favorite belt buckle here. It's the Phoenix rising from the ashes. I love that symbol. Anyway, rocking the Conspiracy Brothers shirt today. Loving it. So, look forward to more of those podcasts as well. My brother and I have one coming out that we already have in the can, and then we're gonna record another one this weekend. So, it's on. So, break the Bastion. Sorry, I don't mean to be coughing right now. So, I'll just read the synopsis first. So, I guess I should say I wrote this. I published it in 2016. So this is the last novel I've published. So I have another one. It's actually 3 novels. They're going to come out all at once. So that one is called I Speak for the Devil. And that's going to be, I think, the best one I've written. And that's why I'm taking my time to write it. So, pardon me, that's not nice. But, so here is the synopsis on the back of the book. So you like the cover? I made the cover. Can you believe that? I used some stock footage and I had to kind of stylize and stuff, but it's really, I consider it to be my own work. Morgan Battle grows up in the shadow of the Bastion, the barrier between what remains of civilization and the void. A wall of titanium climbing over 4,000 feet tall, the Bastion is the world's grandest structure and all that's left to protect America's east coast from the ocean, which has become humanity's most dreaded monster. Global climate change and fracking have reshaped the Earth's landscape and raised the Atlantic over 1,000 feet. The Bastion has held steady against the abyss for more than 70 years. Morgan lives in the slums at the base of the colossal structure, and he's been chosen by its mysterious architect for a secret experiment known as Strix. He meets the 2 other 14-year-old subjects, beautiful but brooding Callista and Lucas, a bullied boy afflicted with a puzzling and seemingly incurable illness. The experiment brings their lives together in extraordinary ways as they race to solve a frightening mystery and stop something sinister on the horizon. Christopher Rankin's 4th novel is a story of love, loss, and revenge in a world facing its end. So, it's kind of, I don't know. I've been thinking more about this book lately. I was going through a very, very hard time when I wrote this. The death of my cat Bushka, right as I was going through the final the final edits. I'm going to edit some of those coughs out, I promise. It's also totally fine. It's not COVID. It is, I have to blame that one on the vape. So, Chapter 1, The Bastion. The crest of a rogue storm wave cracked against the top of the Bastion, sending seaweed and spray thousands of feet down on the sleeping streets of Azerton. Sirens spun and roared to warn the citizens of falling seaweed and flotsam, which had been known to injure and even kill unsuspecting bystanders. The familiar recorded voice blared through the town. Danger, falling ocean debris, evacuate streets and move indoors or protect areas. That night, the waves sent something the size of a single-engine airplane crashing just across the street from Morgan Battle's house. When he looked out his bedroom window, he saw a mound of rusting metal and seaweed in the middle of the street. Whatever it was, had hit one of the streetlights and bent the pole to the pavement. Morgan realized the projectile was a corroded steel emblem, probably from a top-floor sign from one of the drowned skyscrapers of the old days. Fish flopped around the street near the mess. An octopus slithered out of one of the crannies. The impact also woke Morgan's younger brother, Brian, who was across the room. He called out, "Morgan, Morgan, where are you?" "I'm right here," said Morgan from the window. "It's just something churned up by the storm. It landed right outside. Looks like a sign from an old building or something." Brian was suffering from an advanced genetic disorder known as whispering keeper's disease, and he was struggling getting out of bed. The condition made Morgan's younger brother so pale that in certain light he looked as blue as a wrist vein. At 12, Brian Battle was as fragile as an arthritic 90-year-old. His muscles had nearly collapsed to the bones, which were brittle enough to break with even a minor fall. Yet he somehow possessed far greater energy and vitality than most children his age, but it all seemed routed straight to his brain. Morgan helped him up and walked him to the window to see the mess on the street. "Could be over 100 years old," Brian said. "It looks like it reads Bank of Sydney. I guess one of the buildings was owned by some banker lady named Sydney before the floods." "It's not a girl's name. There used to be a country called Australia," Brian told him. "Sydney was the capital." 12-year-old Brian didn't go to school with Morgan, didn't leave the house much, and spent most of his time reading and watching historical and nature documentaries. He seemed to remember most of what he read and heard, making him somewhat of an authority on a handful of subjects, including the Old World. The kid aced his homework, schooling assignments, with just a few hours of work per week. While they watched out the window, Brian noticed someone across the street, just a few feet away from where the sign fell. "Who do you think that is?" he asked Morgan. "Who'd be out in this storm? He must be crazy." The figure stood in the shadow by the bent streetlight. Whoever it was ignored the rain and didn't flinch when the spray from a wave splashed down around him. He stood by a running limousine with the headlights beaming through the mist. His face pointed straight up to the boy's window. "He's staring at us," said Morgan. "Weird." "You don't see many limousines around here. Maybe we're being scouted for a movie or something," Brian asked. "I don't think so," Morgan said. It occurred to him to lift his hand to wave to the figure. When he did, the man immediately jerked his hand up, waving and saluting. That scared them. Brian ducked down and Morgan fell to his knees below the windowsill. That night, the citizens of Azerton were trying to sleep through the latest seasonal storm. It was only rated a 3 on the Laurent scale, but it pounded on the Bastion with such force that merely the sound was considered a physical and mental health hazard. The local government had rationed sleeplessness and anxiety relief medicine to every household. The walls of the homes belonging to the wealthier households had the most advanced soundproof insulation installed, which only blunted the Atlantic's booms and hisses. For some, long-term exposure without proper ear protection was known to cause storm madness. Those afflicted often descended into severe psychosis and eventually catatonia. Over the years, dozens had been driven to deafen themselves by impaling the eardrum. The worst part was that the ocean was so loud that one heard it not just with the ears, but with one's whole body. The hissing and rumbling of the storm didn't bother Morgan. He had spent his entire 14 years so close to the Bastion that he could practically taste the wall's titanium. Sometimes he even enjoyed the way the decibels of sound snaked through his body. Morgan was only 2 years older than Brian, but towered over him as they stood at the window. Even though he was only 14, he was nearly 6 feet tall. His shoulders were plates of fast muscle, and his jaw was a chiseled square. Brian asked him, "Do you think that guy down there is going to wait until we sleep and chop us up?" Morgan smiled, saying, "If he tries, I'm going to make him regret it. Then I'm taking that car of his. I've always wanted to ride around in a limousine." "Do you think we should tell Dad about him? Or do you think he'll get mad at us for bothering him? I think the storm knocked out the TV and he can't watch the war. I heard him yelling earlier." Morgan's smile soured. He told Brian, "That guy out there is pretty weird, I guess. I'll have to tell Dad." Downstairs, Morgan's father's hands trembled at the ocean rumbling. Killian Battle had never gotten used to the storms, and usually became a wreck when they arrived in the middle of the night. He always said it felt like the entire earth was being swallowed by a black hole. "It's okay, Dad," Morgan said, coming down the stairs. "It was just a rusty sign that splashed over from an old skyscraper or something. Didn't say I was scared, his father's voice snapped. Worry about yourself. Morgan's father, Killian Battle, was employed in maintenance of the Bastion, and still had the gray coverall uniform on. He was part of the 5-man crew dedicated to bilge pump maintenance. The job kept him lean and his shoulders as fat and strong as those of a 20-year-old heavyweight boxer. His middle age, frequent double and sometimes triple work shifts, and his kelp ale habit only showed up in the bags around his eyes. Someone's out there, Morgan told him. I think he's watching us. Maybe it's the Grim Reaper, his father said, pushing out a terrified laugh. Death's getting ready. One day that Bastion is going to fold like... He crushed a kelp ale can between his hands. Then he took the last anxiety pill out of the bottle and chucked it down his throat like a kernel of popcorn. It has survived plenty of storms, argued Morgan. Some way worse than this. Besides, isn't it supposed to be indestructible? They taught us that in school. His father chuckled. It appeared as though the anxiety pills were already kicking in. Oh, well, if they said that in school, then it has to be true. I know what they tell you about the Bastion. I know the guy that built it was supposed to be cleverer than Jesus Christ himself. But Blaise Florence was just a man, and that wall isn't going to stop the ocean forever. Nothing's indestructible. Besides, the rogues have been getting closer and closer to the top these past few years. Won't be too much longer. His father had succeeded. Morgan was finally scared. Killian laughed when he saw the look on his son's face. The man seemed to delight in it somehow. Yep, he went on. No way you're going to make it to be an old man. Morgan looked into his father's eyes and told him, I know you're trying to scare me, and it won't work. Then, before he could catch himself, Morgan said, Your hands are shaking pretty good. Looks like you're the one that's scared. Little shit, snapped Killian. Just because I'm your dad doesn't mean I won't kick your ass clean over that Bastion. I came down, said Morgan, to tell you there's a weirdo outside, stalking our... Your pills, said his father, holding out his hand like he wanted money. What? Your goddamn pills, his father responded. I've gone through all mine, and I need to relax. The storm's knocked out the damn television. How the hell can I fall asleep without watching the war? You don't take them anyway. I don't take them because I don't need them. They slow down my thinking. Well, since you're such a tough little shit, give them to me. Fine, said Morgan without looking at him. He walked over to the kitchen cabinet, reaching to one of his hiding spots behind the several expired cans of pickled lumpfish, and pulled out part of his stash. Killian yanked the bottle out of his son's hands as soon as he got near the couch. Good boy, he said. That's good, good, good. Now pour me a glass of red kelp to wash my anxiety relief down. Pour your own drink, Morgan told him. Killian wasn't surprised by his son's attitude. He seemed amused, as though he was enjoying the moment just before the inevitable retaliation. He told Morgan, There really is some dumb part of you that wants to get killed. That's why you act like twice the crazy asshole I was at your age. I admit, that's something. But it's nothing that gives you the right to talk to me like that. Morgan knew what was likely to come. He put his chest out, returned his father's mackerel stare, and prepared for impact. Brian suddenly appeared at the top of the stairs, on his crutches. That weird man is still out there, he shouted. He's watching the house. Morgan and his father looked at one another and came to an unspoken agreement to settle that particular matter later. They both went to the front window. What in the name of Neptune's asshole? Killian said, whipping open the blinds. Does that prick think he's doing out there in front of my house? The man looked like a void in the rain and fog. What do you think he wants? Morgan asked his father. I don't care what he wants. Killian nearly snarled as he put his boots and overcoat on. But if he's going to make me go out into this hell, I'm going to give him a free sex change operation. When Killian opened the front door, the noise shook the furniture and the television. The rain seemed to fall like supersonic asteroids. Shreds of black fog whipped across the near-perfect darkness. Killian eventually pushed himself out the door, and Morgan was close behind him. Be careful, he told his father. We don't know who this guy is. This bastard is the one who should be careful, Killian yelled through the storm. Hey, he shouted to the man. If I see your hand in your pants, you're dead. The man lifted his hat, smiled and waved to them. His hair shined white, and his face looked like a pale, sagging triangle. The old man wasn't alone. There was a driver and several other men inside the limousine. Before Killian and Morgan got to him, he slipped back into the limo and nearly hydroplaned away. That was chapter 1. So thank you for listening to that. This has been only 15 minutes, but I'm going to follow up. I'll probably do some more of this because I kind of enjoyed reading this. And it's been some time. I hope I didn't stumble too much through it. There were a couple points where I was like, I wrote this. But I enjoyed reading it. So I may record some audiobooks if my voice isn't that horrible. My brother is actually working on the audiobooks right now, but it takes a long time. It's long, tedious work. So it's going to be a while before those are available. So this is just something I wanted to just kind of share with the fans of our podcasts and bring to Vanadium. So I really appreciate you guys listening. Welcome to the weekend. I might have some more stuff to upload this weekend. I got some other topics that are pressing. I got some gripes and things to complain about, but mostly I want to get things on a lighter tip. I've been sort of somber in these past few podcasts, and I don't really like being like that. That's letting the bad guys win. I don't like it. So, thank you all. This is Vanadium. This is Conspiracy Brothers. This is my Phoenix belt buckle. Oh, I don't want to take out my dick. Thank you all very much, and have a very pleasant evening.